Finance Act 2021. Uh, yes, it had its roots in a Finance Act 2020, where Section 61A, the deeming residency provision, was introduced, and where they had used the word liable to tax. They did not define that word in Finance Act 2020, but in 2021, the Finance Act defined that the word what does it means, and more importantly, what implications or ramifications it has going forward for the non-resident, whether actually that word or insertion or the definition has uh, which I mean the talks which are going on, that it has created a kind of chaos, whether it is actually that relevant. We'll just delve into that in today's session. Before starting, I would like to acknowledge the efforts of Harsha in preparing the PPT. The legends used DTAA, Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement, GST, Goods and Service Tax, HNWIs, high net worth individuals, NR, non-resident, PPI, preceding previous year, PY, previous year, RNOR, resident and not ordinary resident, ROR, resident and ordinarily resident, USVAT, EAG. So, schema for the evening, friends. The deemed residency provisions, what exactly was inserted in Finance Act 2020, the rationale for bringing those, understanding the word liable to tax, few relevant considerations, other sections apart from the residency provisions where liable to tax may have implications for non-residents, and the conclusion. So determination of residential sale as per Income Tax Act, as we all know, friends, as per Section 6(1), individual is resident of India if stays in India for more than 182 days, or stays in India for less than, or say 60 days or more than that, and he has stayed in India for 365 days or more in preceding previous years. Not getting into the special cases where a person going out for employment or a crew of an Indian ship and all. No, the basic residential status. And then we come to the deeming provision, which was introduced by Finance Act 2020, where it said that individual being a citizen of India who is not liable to tax in any other country or territory by reason of domicile, residence, or any other similar criteria, plus who has income other than income from foreign sources exceeding 15 lakhs. So if all these three conditions are fulfilled, friends, that is individual being a citizen of India, not liable to tax in any other country or territory by reason being domicile, residence, or criteria of similar nature, and his income apart from income from other sources has exceeded 15 lakh rupees. So if that is the case, then he would be deemed to be RNOR, that is resident but not ordinary resident in India as per Section 66D. What would income from other sources means? Income from other sources would mean income which accrues or arises in outside India, except income derived from a business control or in or profession set up in India, and which is not deemed to accrue or arise in India. So categorically, they mean whatever accrual or arising should happen outside India for this section 66D, when we have to calculate the limit of 15 lakhs. So scope of total income, friends, as we all know, for ROR, the world income is taxable. For RNOR, everything is taxable except including the income arising or accruing outside India, but from a business which is controlled from or a profession which is set up in India, that would be taxable for RNOR. Income arising or accruing outside India is not taxable for RNOR. For NR, only which is received or accrued or deemed to accrue or receive in India is taxable. Income arising outside India is not taxable in India. Again, income arising outside India and control from a profession or business setup in India is not taxable. So what has happened? So by classifying such individuals meaning the persons who satisfy those criteria of being an Indian citizen, having income from sources other than foreign sources more than 15 lakhs, and who are not liable to tax in any other country by reason of domicile or residence or any other criteria of similar nature. So if such individuals are categorized as RNOR, so they were non-resident, but now because of this deeming provision, they will be regarded as RNOR. In such a scenario, their income which is accruing or arising outside India, but which is controlled from a business or a profession set up in India, that would be taxable here because of this deeming provision, friends. So if at all he was NR, that type of income would have not been taxable, but for this deeming provision, income which is accruing or arising because of a business controlled from India or a profession set up from India, that would be taxable. Yes, for RNOR, global income again would not be taxable, as is the case in ROR. What is the rationale, friends, for introducing such deeming provision? Increasing mobility of individuals has resulted in situations where individuals could arrange their physical presence in a way that they qualified as a non-resident. So there were instances which were seen, friends, where like people could arrange their presence in such a manner that they would be qualified as a non-resident, both the country, I mean, in the home country as well as the other country where they are generating income. And second, and more importantly, where with the technological advancement, now where a person can manage his or her business or profession from anywhere, I mean, being remotely present, and he or she need not be physically present in a particular jurisdiction. So these being two reasons, now this deeming provision was introduced. If you see, friends, specifically in this deeming provisions, again we'll go to that. Here, nowhere there is a criteria of number of days of stays, where the normal provision section 6.1 talks about stay in India of 182 days, one criteria, or stay of 60 days, or 365 days and 365 days in 4 preceding previous years. Deeming provision does not talks about number of days of stay. Irrespective, if you are fulfilling these conditions, even though you have not stayed for even a single day in India, you would be regarded as RNOR. Hope it's clear, friends. Understanding liable to tax. So now, if you see, friends, we saw the definition of income from foreign sources. Individual being a citizen of India, domicile residence of similar nature have general meaning. The word liable to tax, this was something which was coined in the Finance Act 2020, but nowhere it was defined. Now in 2021, they have defined the word liable to tax. Initially by Finance Bill 2021, that is on 1st February when the bill was announced, it had a meaning that there is a liability of tax on such person under any law. Friends, keep in mind, under any law for the time being in force in any country, and shall include a case where subsequent to imposition of tax liability, an exemption has been provided. So the liable to tax definition, which was passed in Finance Bill 2021, that said tax liability under any law. So when you say, friends, under any law, instances of income tax would come, yes, but along with that, even a question arises as to whether VAT, GST, etc., or other indirect tax laws or other levies which are regarded as tax in other jurisdictions, whether those would fall under the ambit of liable to tax. So quickly the government took notice of this, and then again immediately when Lok Sabha passed the Finance Act, the liable to tax definition was changed. Instead of there is a liability to tax, they had mentioned income tax liability. So instead of tax liability under any law, they used the word income tax liability under the law of that country. The second subsequent part remained the same, shall include a person who has subsequently been exempted from such liability under the law of that country. So with liable to tax being passed in Lok Sabha and in Finance Act 2021, the clarification was provided that it would include only income tax and no other no other taxes, be it indirect tax like VAT, GST, excise. Reason for domicile or residence or similar nature. So now, friends, again we'll go to the deeming provision, friends, to just have a look once. Individual being a citizen of India, not liable to tax in any other country or territory by reason of domicile or residence or any other criteria of similar nature. So now this point, by reason of domicile, residence, or any other criteria of similar nature, has relevance, friends. Now, some may say, or there were talks going on after this introduction of liable to tax definition, that a person being an Indian citizen who has satisfied that criteria of income from other than income from foreign sources of 15 lakh, if he is liable to tax will include again an exemption being provided. So if you see, friends, the definition shall also include a person who has subsequently been exempted from such liability. So there was a liability, but subsequently there was an exemption provided. So he is actually not liable to pay tax. He was just liable to tax. There was a liability, there was an obligation, but due to some reason, exemption has been provided from such liability. So now, friends, if you see the deeming provision, liable to tax by reason of domicile or residence or similar nature. Friends, this three words, domicile or residence of similar nature, has relevance. Because why it will have a relevance? As say, for example, in UAE, consider a jurisdiction called UAE, which has outright provided a tax. There is no tax laws, or there are no corporate tax laws. There is no personal income tax laws. Say, for example, in some jurisdictions, capital, like say Singapore, capital gains is exempt. Say some jurisdictions provide exemptions to senior citizens, saying that okay, you would not be liable for any tax because of you being a senior citizen. Now, friends, if we clearly see the deeming provision, it talks only about domicile or residence of similar nature. So, liable to not liable to tax only by this reason. So, if at all you are falling under other reasons like say age or nature of income, or there is a government policy of nil taxation, this will not apply. Friends, hope it is clear. Again, the words criteria of similar nature. Here again, the ejusdem generis rule will apply, and it has to be construed in the form of the word domicile or residence only. So, what it tries to say. So, if at all you are not liable to tax only by reason of domicile or residence or similar nature. Similar nature, friends, has not been defined by Income Tax Act till now. Even in Finance Act 2021, this definition did not come. So only if at all, say you're satisfying the criteria of being an Indian citizen, having income from other sources apart from foreign sources being more than 15 lakhs, and you're not liable for domicile or the reason of domicile or residence of similar nature, then only you will be regarded as resident but not ordinary resident in India. If you are not liable to tax for other reasons, like say for example, as I mentioned, friends, the government policy, or say age or the nature of income being such like the capital, say agricultural income and capital gains income are upfront exempt, then in such a scenario, you will not fall under the ambit of that 618. So you will not be regarded as RNOR as per Indian tax laws. Hope this is clear, friends. So, because of the usage of the word by reason of domicile or residence or criteria of similar nature, other aspects of like say when a person is not liable to tax for other reasons, then he would not fall within the ambit of 618, and he would not be regarded as resident but not ordinary resident. This is one finding which we could analyze, that yes, only by the reason of domicile or residence of similar nature, a person should not be liable to tax. And secondly, and more importantly, friends, again, similarly, there were talks going on, like say, for example, again considering the UAE example, there are many Indian citizens who have resided in India. So being in India, they would have say some income from India, um, satisfying the criteria of not being a foreign source income and having more than 50 lakhs. They had a dilemma like now because of this liable to tax provisions, again whether they would be regarded as resident even though they have not stayed for any prescribed number of days in India. Again, friends, to clarify, this is a provision in Income Tax Act, that is 61A of Income Tax Act 1961. Say, for example, if a person falls within the ambit of 618A, he's a resident of again UAE, he's a resident of UAE, and he's a resident of India as well. Now, in such a scenario where he's a resident of both the countries, we need not conclude the tax liability basis that we need to go to DTAA between India and UAE, apply the provisions of Article 4, wherein like it provides a tiebreaker test and confirms a person would be resident of which country. So this deeming provision is there in Income Tax Act 1961. Once it is RNOR as a tax liability, we need to go to DTAA to confirm, because the person at the end, when there is a taxability to be calculated or to be confirmed, he can't be resident of both the countries. He has to be resident of one country, and wherever he is resident, there the taxation will happen, and accordingly credit would be allowed in the other country. So we need not conclude the taxability only based on the domestic provisions of 61A. We need to go a step further, or there would be an additional layer of checking via DTAA to check whether, as per DTAA as well, that person is resident of India or not. If the answer is no, he would be still regarded as resident of UAE only. The Indian tax law would say RNOR, but as per DTAA, he would not be resident of India, and hence he would continue to be resident of UAE only. So this is the second and most important point, friends, because of which the implication of the word liable to tax will not have much ramifications when it comes to non-residents or non-resident Indians residing outside India. So apart from residency provisions, what are the other provisions, friends, where the liable to tax word has been used in the entire Income Tax Act, which may have relevance for non-residents? So there were two sections, friends. Section 295(3), which gives CBDT the power to frame any rules, where it is mentioned that where income liable to tax cannot be definitely ascertained, or can be ascertained only with an amount of trouble of expense or expenses which CBDT feels unreasonable. In the following cases, they may prescribe rules for of estimating. They may prescribe methods for estimating such income. So, what are those cases? Person residing outside India, operations carried out in India by a non-resident, transactions or activities of a non-resident. So, in these scenarios, I mean, there are other two instances as well, but I have kept only specific for non-residents. So, in these scenarios, where income liable to tax cannot be definitely ascertained, or can be, or there would be like some concerns or issues going forward to ascertain, then CBDT can frame rules for prescribing methods for estimating such income. Second section is 1023 FE. 1023 FE provides exemptions for dividend, interest, and long-term capital gains of a specified person from an investment made by in India, whether in the form of a debt or share capital or unit, subject to specified conditions. Not get into what are those specified conditions, but a specified person, again, there are various specified persons, out of which one specified person is a pension fund which is created outside India under the laws of foreign country, is not liable to tax in such foreign country, or if liable to tax, exemption from taxation for all its income has been provided by such foreign country, satisfies other condition as may be prescribed, does not participate in day-to-day operations of investee wherever the investment has happened, and it has to be specified by central government in the official gazette. So another section relating to non-resident where liable to tax has been mentioned is this section, friends. We just thought to have a mention of this. Conclusion. So what can be, as I said, friends, it felt like when the word liability of tax or liable to tax was introduced, there was chaos as to, yes, that would deem a non-resident to be an RNOR in India without even staying for a day in India. But as I said, it will not have serious ramifications because of two things. One, the DTAA will take precedence over the domestic laws, number one. And secondly, and more importantly, the criteria provided are by reason of domicile or residence, unless and until the government comes up with a clarification of what would get covered under other criteria of similar natures. Other reasons being age or government policies of nil taxation, or say specific exemption of capital gains and agriculture income, those would not get covered within the ambit of 61A. So these were some of our thoughts, friends, on liable to tax and what ramification it has. Any questions would be happy to answer, friends. Thank you, friends. Have a great evening.